Daniel Jones, former Giants quarterback, former Vikings backup, I believe, is going to be the starter on a 1-year, $14 million contract, taking over for the club's 2023 first-round pick, Anthony Richardson. Your thoughts, sir?
All right. When people ask me about individual players when I go out to speak, hey, Steve, what about this guy? And somebody who's not quite there yet. And I'll say that I always say the same thing over and over again. It's about maintaining a high level of consistency. I said the problem for said player is being inconsistent. You know, let's take a wide receiver. He may make 3 catches like wow, and then drop 2. Okay. Anthony Richardson. His problem, he has 2 problems: injuries and inconsistency. Injuries were not a problem for him at the University of Florida. Inconsistency was. He is not really a different quarterback today than he was at Florida. I mean, no difference.
Same guy.
I remember watching, it may have been they may have been playing Florida State. It was at the end of the year. And he kept getting the ball back, and it was just watching a roller coaster, right? And that's been his problem. Yeah. He gets banged up. You know, he plays hard.
Yeah.
And he's a great athlete. But he is just incredibly inconsistent. Now, saying Daniel Jones is more consistent can be a stretch at times.
I also wonder, and this is just a personal thing. I know last season, end of October, there was the incident where Richardson subbed himself out in the middle of a drive. They needed it. And his response was, quote, "I was tired."
Right.
And I know, as someone who played just basic high school level sports, I would have been pissed at that if I was a teammate of his. And you just, unless you are like currently, if we know ahead of time, like what Kristaps Porzingis dealt with this season, where he was literally sick all season, didn't know what was wrong, and he didn't have the energy to play. If it's that's one thing.
You're right.
But if it's just my conditioning isn't good enough, or I just was tired and I want to take a play off, and you are the quarterback of your team, the leader of your football team, and you're like, I gotta sit for a play.
Well, see, that was my issue.
Matters.
That's on the college level. That's my issue with Castellanos.
Yeah,
I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, he did do that. That's a maturity issue.
Like, I wonder how well that went over in the Colts locker room this past season.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But I'm also a believer in second chances. I have, people can make mistakes in life, and I mean, that's a big one, but it's not fatal, right? And you should get a second chance if you prove yourself. Now you do it again, now you've lost everybody. Can't do it again. You lose everybody. I think the issue here is quite simple. The guy that was more consistent during the preseason was Daniel Jones, and he's the guy that ends up getting the job. Castellanos, who I've already pointed out, 8 games, Bill says you're not going to be the starter. I quit. Well, why don't you be the backup? No. You quit. And then eventually, a month later, put his name in the transfer portal. I mean, in other words, he didn't wait till the end of the season.
Nope. He was out.
He was out. That transfer portal. I mean, you're allowed to transfer and play right away someplace else?
Crazy.
I wonder why the NCAA didn't think about that with the Michigan team. Okay, weird. Well, that's okay. It's a different story. But that's what it comes down to. And that's why, look, this is the week where teams are naming starting quarterbacks. So because in that case, who's moving you forward into game one? So Joe Flacco will be the starter, no surprise, in Cleveland day one. I'm not really surprised Daniel Jones is starting day one with the Colts. I'm not really surprised. Let's pretend I've ever seen him do anything except throw the ball in a warm-up. But Julian's saying, I'm not really surprised in the end that he wins the quarterback job at Ohio State.
Falcons said Michael Penix is officially the starter for Atlanta.
Yep.
So
this is about the time to do it. Ohio State's had these things where I think it was like a couple days before the season before he named Kyle McCord the starter. Okay. But like people will say, well, why now? Well, training camp's over now. It's now transition time for the teams that are opening up on the 30th or the week of the 30th. right, where they're making the transition out of their training camp and into their game week routines, the extra practices you're going to have for said opening opponent. That's why this is the week that Aguilar gets named to Tennessee, why Sayan gets named this week at Ohio State, among others across the country. Penn State doesn't have to do that. Illinois doesn't have to do that. Rutgers doesn't have to do that. They already knew who their starting quarterback was going in. But that's why it's being that this is that transition time. That's why they're naming starting quarterbacks now. Thanks for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones. Catch the latest from me on the 7 Mountain Sports YouTube page. Find clips of the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching up 7 Mountain Sports.